Hello everyone! Welcome po ulit sa ating Isip YouTube channel where you can find free Tagalog mathematics tutorial. Our topic for today here is all about Cartesian Coordinate Plane. Pero bago ang lahat, may I encourage everyone to please click the subscribe button pag hindi pa po tayo nakakapag-subscribe, or you can also follow us on Facebook. In this channel, we try to help our Filipino learners about mathematics by explaining these lessons in the easiest possible way. And by the way, for our fellow teachers, if you want to avail of our PowerPoint presentations, yung mga ginagamit po natin dito sa ating video tutorial, you can avail of this by clicking our link down below, or you can visit our Facebook page. Okay, so thank you very much for subscribing, and let's now begin with our lesson. For our learning competency at the end of this lesson, you will be able to illustrate and describe the Cartesian coordinate plane. Aside from that, you will be able to plot points on the Cartesian coordinate plane and determine the coordinates of a point on the plane. Okay, let's start the lesson with this question. Okay, first, how can you tell where you are? Okay, imagine this one. Okay, let's have this scenario. You went on a trip with your friends and somehow you end up in a place you do not know. So, no familiar streets, no idea which way to go home. Hindi mo alam, naliligaw ka, at hindi mo alam kung saan pupunta. Okay? So, ano ang gagawin mo? What would you do? Okay, you could answer, you may ask for directions. Pwede kang magtanong sa mga tao sa paligid kung saan ang daanan. Or, you can also call a friend. Okay, kung meron ka namang phone, you can do so. And more importantly, we should call our parents or our family members, especially pag emergency. In the first place, dapat nagpapaalam po muna tayo sa ating mga magulang, especially if we are underage. And kung meron ka namang data, you can also open your Google Maps. Okay? Kasi ang Google Map natin, your phone has a GPS. With your phone's GPS, ito yung tinatawag nating Global Positioning System, you can find your exact location. Okay? Gamit lamang yung phone mo kapag meron ka pong data. Now, GPS uses a coordinate system. Paano niya ba yun nagagawa? Alright? Like for example, your Google Map. Ano? So, coordinate system is a method of defining the location of points in a space using numbers called coordinates. Okay, similar din ito sa ginagamit natin na coordinate system kapag naglo-locate tayo ng countries around the globe. Halimbawa, yung ating country, Philippines. How do we locate Philippines in our world map? Okay, so dito gumagamit na tayo ng mga coordinates. Okay, yung pinapag-aralan nyo sa Ariling Panlipunan about latitude and longitude. Okay, ano ba ang exact location ng Philippines? Well, Philippines is at 12.8797 degrees north of the equator and then 121.7740 degrees east of the prime meridian. Ito po yung exact location ng ating bansa. Okay, now in mathematics, aside from real-life applications ng coordinate system, sa algebra, ito na rin yung tinatawag nating graphing. Okay, remember, graphing is showing information visually. In algebra, we use graphing to show the relationships between numbers or variables. No? So dito, pwede tayong gumamit ng mga ganito. Halimbawa, itong mga line graph natin. Okay, this is a visual representation of data. Okay, pwede rin tayong gumamit ng ganito. In your future mathematics lessons, you will learn about this systems of linear equation and even functions in higher mathematics. So sa lahat ng mga ito, okay, nagsisimula yan dito sa ating lesson today, which is about Cartesian Coordinate System. Okay, now ano ba ang history? Paano ba tayo nagkaroon ng Cartesian Coordinate System? Okay, so the idea of Cartesian Coordinate System start with this mathematician. Okay? Ang pangalan niya po ay René Descartes. Okay? Although ganito po ang spelling ng kanyang pangalan, it is pronounced as René Descartes kasi he is a French mathematician, okay, and a philosopher. Ganun po yung pronunciation natin when it comes to French. Okay? Now, who is René Descartes? Okay, 400 years ago, René Descartes was lying in a bed feeling sick. Now, he noticed a fly crawling around his ceiling. May nakita po siyang isang langaw sa ceiling. Now, napaisip po siya. He wondered, if I wanted to tell someone exactly where the fly is without pointing to it, how could I do that? Yung tanong niyang yun po ang dahilan kung bakit naisip niya ang Cartesian Coordinate System. Okay, nagkaroon po siya ng idea, kaya naimbento niya po ang Cartesian Coordinate System. And what is Cartesian Coordinate System? It is a system used for graphing number pairs. So, it is also called a rectangular coordinate system. Okay? Kaya po siya tinawag na Cartesian because of his name, which is René Descartes. Okay, so we use this system to locate a position. Okay, so paano po natin yun gagawin? Let's go over sa Cartesian Coordinate Plane. Ano ba ang Cartesian Coordinate Plane? Well, a Cartesian Coordinate Plane, it is formed by two perpendicular number lines, one horizontal and one vertical that intersect at a point. So, if you remember in grade 7, we learned about this number line, wherein sa gitna we have 0, and then dito po sa ating right side we have the positive set of integers, and then on the left side we have the negative set of integers up to infinity na po yan. Kung ganito po yung ating number line, ang Cartesian Coordinate Plane, parang ang gagawin lang natin dito is dadagdagan natin yung dimension niya. Okay, instead of 1 dimension, gawin nating 2 dimension siya. So we already have here yung nasa taas, which is the positive set of integers, and then dito naman po sa baba we will have the negative set of integers up to infinity pa rin po yan. Kasi nga po we use a horizontal line and then we have a vertical line that intersect at a single point dito po sa gitna. Now, what are the other parts of this Cartesian Coordinate Plane? Okay, first, let us show the grids corresponding to the numbers or the integers sa atin pong lines. Okay, ito pong horizontal line, this is now what we call the x-axis. Okay, and then dito po sa ating vertical line, this is now what we call the y-axis. So, gumagamit pa rin po tayo ng variables, and this variable is what we use for this Cartesian plane. Okay, now yung gitna po, this is now what we call the origin or the point of origin. Dito po magsisimula yung mga integers natin. Now, this Cartesian plane is divided also into 4 parts, no? 4 sections, which we call the quadrants. Itong unang quadrant po na ito, this point is what we call quadrant 1. And then, this part here is what we call quadrant 2. Yung nandito naman po sa baba, this is what we call quadrant 3. And then dito sa section na ito or area na ito na po yung quadrant 4. Now, if you notice, the number of quadrants is counterclockwise. Okay, from 1, 2 going to the left, and then 3 going down, and then 4 going to the right. Counterclockwise po siya. So these are the parts of the Cartesian Coordinate Plane. Okay, now let's go to the concept of ordered pair or what we call now the coordinates. Okay, so ano po ito? This is a pair of number that is used to represent a point on a Cartesian plane. Okay, so halimbawa, if we have here our plane, and these are now the grid, and this is our x-axis, and we have the y-axis. Our ordered pair or coordinates now is represented by this pattern. So we have here open parenthesis x, comma, y, close parenthesis, where x here coincides with our x-axis, and then the y here coincides with our y-axis. So anong tawag natin sa x dito? Ang tawag po natin dyan ay x-coordinate, or yung tinatawag nating abscissa. Okay? Now, y here is what we call the y-coordinate or yung tinatawag naman nating ordinate. So, take note of these two words. We have abscissa, the x-coordinate, and then ordinate is the y-coordinate. Now, let's have an example. We have here 1 and then 3. This is now an example of what we call coordinate, where 1 here is the abscissa or the x-coordinate, and then 3 here is what we call the ordinate or the y-coordinate. So, ipa-plot po natin tong mga ito later on dito sa ating susunod na slide. But first, how do we know the sign of our coordinate or our ordered pair? So, meron po tayong short way to know that, which is yung atin pong mga quadrants. For example, dito po sa ating quadrant number 1, ang ating coordinate po dito ay laging positive yung abscissa and then positive din po yung ordinate. When it comes to quadrant 2, ang sign po ng ating abscissa ay negative and then ang sign ng ating ordinate ay positive. Sa quadrant 3 naman po, ang sign ng ating x-coordinate ay negative and then ang sign ng ating y-coordinate ay negative din po. They are both negative. And lastly, for our quadrant 4, ang sign ng abscissa ay positive and then sign ng ating ordinate ay negative. So if I'm going to ask you, ito pong ating example na 1, 3, anong quadrant po siya belong? Okay, correct. Dito po siya sa quadrant 1 since 1 here is positive and then 3 here is also positive. Okay? Now, let's move on to plotting the points. Okay, so now how do we plot points in our coordinate system? Okay, so we have here some examples. We will have here points, the coordinates, and then we will identify or we will locate kung asan po yung location niya or kung anong quadrant po siya belong. Okay, let's have the first point. We have the point A. By the way, when we are naming a point, it should always be a capital na letter or an uppercase letter. So we have the coordinates given, which is 1 and then 3. Parang ito po yung kanina, no? Yung ating example kanina. So we have here 1. Paano po natin siya ilolocate? Okay, the first method we can use is using the point of origin. Magmumove lang po tayo dito sa ating x-axis since this is the x-coordinate or yung abscissa natin. So ilang movement po? We have here 1 and it is positive. Therefore, we will go to the right side. 1 unit. And then next one, we have the y-coordinate which is 3. Which is positive 3, we will now move from 1, from the x-axis, 3 units going up kasi nga po positive siya. Therefore, we have 1, 2, and 3. Ang ating point ay nandito, which is point A. Okay, yun po yung unang method. Aside from that, we can also use the second method, which is using the intersections. So, gagawa lang po tayo ng line first dito sa ating x-axis, which is 1. So, it means na yung point natin, it's just around here, dito po sa line na to. So, we need the line for our y-axis also, which is 3. Gagawa rin po tayo ng line dito, okay, coinciding with our 3 sa ating y-axis. And then, kung ano po yung intersection, kung saan po nag-meet yung dalawang line, yun na po yung location ng ating point. So, ito po yung point A. So, any of those two method is okay. Okay, next is the quadrant. Alam naman natin na ang quadrant ng 1, 3 since they are both positive is quadrant 1. Pero dito pa lang, dito sa pagplot natin, malalaman na natin kung nasaan dito yung ating location. So yes, it is in quadrant number 1. Okay, our next point here is point B with the coordinates negative 3 and positive 2. Now for the quadrants, gaya po nung tinuro natin kanina sa previous slide, we can actually identify yung quadrant niya basing from the signs. And we know that since this is negative, yung first sign and then yung second sign ay positive, alam natin na nasa quadrant 2 siya. Okay? Though, hindi natin alam yung exact location niya. So, i-plot muna natin. Alright? So, we have here negative 3. So, magmumove tayo from the point of origin going to the left ba or right? Since this is negative, we will move going to the left side. So, we will count 1, 2, and 3 from our point of origin dito sa x-axis. And then dito naman sa y-axis, we will go upwards 2 units. Okay, so 2 units, 1 and 2. Ito na po yung ating point, which is point B. Now, if we're going to use the second method, which is to use the intersection. So, dito sa ating x-axis, gawa lang tayo ng line na nakatapat dito sa ating negative 3. Okay, and then yung line na nakatapat sa positive 2 dito naman sa y-axis. So, ito po yung ating line. Yan. And then yung intersection niya, makikita nyo, it's also the same. So, this is point B. Okay, so anong quadrant ulit? This is quadrant number 2. Okay, now let's move to point C, which has a coordinate of 1, -2. So let's count 1 unit going to the right from the point of origin. And then since this is negative, yung ating ordinate or yung ating y coordinate, magmumove tayo pababa. So 2 units going down, ito na po yung ating point. So using the intersection naman, we can make a line here sa 1 and then line dito sa -2. We can now get the intersection, which is also point C. Okay? And ang quadrant po natin ngayon ay quadrant 4. Okay? This is quadrant 4. Now, let's go to D. Okay? Point D with the coordinates -4 and -4. Okay? So, move tayo ng 4 units going to the left side dito sa x-axis. And then, since negative ang ating ordinate or yung y-coordinate natin, move tayo pababa 4 units. So, this will now be our point D. Okay? Or using the intersection method, so we have here -4 and then -4 dito sa y, yun na po yung intersection. So ang ating quadrant dito ay quadrant 3. Okay? Remember, ang quadrants natin, counterclockwise po siya. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next, we have here point E. So we have here 4 and -2.5. Paano po ito? Okay, hindi po siya whole number. Pwede pa ba itong i-plot? Pwede rin po. Okay? Kahit na decimal siya or fraction, pwede pa rin natin siyang i-estimate. So first, we are going to use the method. Pwede yung pag-move natin from the point of origin or pwede rin naman na yung intersection method. So we have here 4. Gawa tayo ng line dito sa 4. And then we have here -2.5. Since this is our y-axis, dito siya sa baba. This is -2. Pag 0.5, ibig sabihin gitna ng -2 tsaka -3. So dito po sa part na ito, gagawa tayo ng line horizontally and then ang ating intersection, yun na po yung ating location ng point E. Okay, next is point F. We have here the coordinates 3, 0. Alright, so first, we can have a line here dito sa ating x-axis, no? Vertical line nakatapat sa positive 3. And then now, since this is 0, saan po natin siya itatapat dito sa y-axis? Dito po siya sa gitna mismo. Okay? And then, as you can see, ito na po yung intersection niya. So, point F is in this location. So, kung tatanungin ko kayo, anong quadrant ito? Is it really belonging to a specific quadrant? Hindi po. Okay? Kasi nandito na po siya mismo sa isang axis, which is what we call the x-axis. Okay, so ang location niya po, wala siya sa quadrant, nandito po siya sa mismong x-axis. Pwede po yun, ano? Okay, now let's have the next point which is point G. 0, -1 naman po siya. Okay, so since 0 siya sa x, ibig sabihin nandito siya sa gitna. Okay, so ang line natin dito mismo sa y-axis. And then since -1 po yung kanyang ordinate, move down lang po tayo dito. Ito po yung ating magiging line. So there you go, -1. And saan po siya nag-intersect? Dito po. Okay? So we have point G. Now question is, saan po ulit ang kanyang location? Is it in the quadrants? Okay, wala po sa quadrants. So kung meron po dito sa x-axis, meron din po dito sa y-axis. So ang sagot po natin dito ay y-axis po ang kanyang location. Okay, next, last we have here point H, which has a coordinate of 0, 0. So kung 0, 0 siya, dito po siya sa point of origin. Okay, ang location niya ay origin. Hindi po siya sa quadrants. Pwedeng nandito siya sa x-axis, pwede rin siya dito sa y-axis. Pero ang pinaka-best na location niya, if we're going to describe it, is here in the point of origin. Okay, so that's how we plot points. Okay, now let's move to an exercise. Okay, this time, try to answer this on your own. Pwede nyong ituro or pwede nyong kopyahin ito on your paper. Okay, depends on you. You can pause and play this video para po matry nyo muna and then try to check your answer. I'm going to show you the points later on. Okay, and while you are doing that, let me just show you a short advertisement for our fellow teachers regarding our PowerPoint presentations. Okay, God bless po sa inyong pagsagot. Okay, I hope you are now ready. Let's now proceed with the points. Okay, let's have point A. Okay, we have here negative 1 and 2. Ang location niya po ay nasa quadrant 2. Ang point po ay nandito. Okay, so we have here point A. Next, we have here point B with the coordinates 5, 3. Asan po siya? Okay, sa taas po ng 5 and then sa right side ng 3 sa y-axis. So we have here, location is quadrant 1. Next one, we have here letter C. Okay, let's plot 2, negative 2. So it's here, dito po sa quadrant 4. We have here 2, under 2, and then we have on the right side of negative 2. Next, we have here negative 4 and 0. Dito po siya sa mismong x-axis. Okay, next we have here negative 1.5 and then negative 4. So dito po siya sa gitna ng negative 1 and negative 2. Tapat po nila. And then we have here tapat ng negative 4. So again, you can use any method. Ano? If you want the method where you move from the point of origin, pwede rin po. If you want the intersection method, pwede rin po. For letter E, we have here point E. Nandito po siya. So ang location niya is quadrant 3. Okay, and then last we have here point F with coordinates 0, 3. This time, it is here, dito mismo sa y-axis. Okay, so there you go. I hope nasagot nyo to. Na-plot nyo siya ng mabuti and tama po ang inyong sagot. Okay, now let's proceed to our next part, which is determining coordinates naman. Okay, so given na po yung mga points, na plot na po siya, all we have to do is to find its coordinate or to determine, identify its coordinates. So we have here point A, okay, and then lalagay natin dito yung mga abscissa at saka yung mga ordinates nila. Okay, and then also we will find out kung ano yung location. Alright, so let's start with point A. Asan ba yung point A? Andito siya. So ano ba ang abscissa? Yung nandito sa x, tapat ng x-axis, we have here 3. And then ang kanyang ordinate or yung y-coordinate niya is positive 1. Next, point B, we have here, point B. By the way, yung location po pala nitong point A natin ay nasa quadrant 1. Okay, next, point B, we have here yung x-coordinate muna natin, ang unahin natin, it is negative 3. And then we have here negative 3 din po sa y-coordinate. Quadrant is quadrant 3. Okay, for point C, if you notice, nandito na po siya sa ating y-axis. Okay, so ang kanyang coordinate ay 0. Okay, tapat ng x is 0. And then for our y-coordinate, tapat ng negative 4. So there you go. 0, negative 4. Ang location niya, nandito siya sa y-axis. Okay, next point D. We have here point D. So first is yung abscissa niya is positive 4 and then yung kanyang ordinate ay negative 4. Okay? Nandito po siya sa fourth quadrant or quadrant 4. Next point E. So andito yung point E natin. So ang ating abscissa ay negative 3. Okay, negative 3. And then ang ating ordinate ay positive 4. So negative 3, positive 4. And quadrant 2. Next, for F, we have here, andito po siya, gitna po siya ng 1 and 2. So ano po ang isusulat natin? We can write 1.5. And then tapat siya ng 2 dito sa ating y-axis. Therefore, 2 ang kanyang ordinate. Ang quadrant niya ay quadrant 1. Okay, next for point G, we have here, nandito na siya mismo sa ating x-axis. So ang ating coordinate, ang ating x-coordinate or abscissa ay 4. And then ang ating ordinate is 0. Okay, 0. So ang ating location ay x-axis. And then lastly, we have here point H. Kung titignan nyo, dito sa grid, nasa gitna siya. So tapat ng gitna ni negative 3 tsaka negative 4 sa ating x-axis. So we can have negative 3.5. And then for our ordinate or our y-coordinate, gitna naman ng 1 and 2. So dito siya kay 1.5. Therefore, ang kanyang quadrant is quadrant 2. So yan. So I hope naintindihan nyo naman kung paano mag-determine ng coordinates. Parang yun lang po yung reverse method or opposite lang po ng plotting points. Okay, now to test yourself, I have here an exercise again, exercise B. This time you have to identify the coordinates and then identify also the location. Okay, nandito na po yung mga points natin. You can pause and play this video and then try to compare your answers with our answer later on. So God bless po ulit sa inyong pagsagot. Okay, I hope you are now ready. Let's now check your answers. Okay, for point A, ang coordinates niya ay -1, 1. Okay, and then ang location niya is quadrant 2. Okay, now for point B, coordinates niya ay -3 and then -2. Location niya is quadrant 3. Point C, ang coordinate naman niya is +5 and then +1. So, nasa quadrant 1. Point D, ang location niya ay 0 and then -1 ang kanyang ordinate. That's why the location is in the y-axis. Then point E, we have here +3 and then -1.5. Gitna ng -1 and -2. So location here is quadrant 4. Next, point F. Point F is here. So -3 ang kanyang abscissa and then ang kanyang ordinate ay +5. Location ni point F ay quadrant 2. Okay, next point G, coordinates niya ay 1, -4. So we have here ang location niya, nandito siya, 1, -4. Location is quadrant 4. And then lastly, we have here point H with the coordinates 5, 0. Okay, ang location niya is nasa x-axis. Okay, I hope nakuha niyo po ng tama yung ating mga sagot. Alright, so now, to end our lesson, let's have this conclusion. No, we learned about Cartesian Coordinate System. It's a system used for graphing number pairs. Okay, so dahil lamang sa isang idea ni René Descartes, from the location of the fly, gumawa siya ng coordinate system which we call the Cartesian Coordinate System. At meron din po tayong natutunan sa ating mga lessons. So these are now the moral motivation lessons we learned. We learned that great ideas can come from simple observations. Yan, na-discover niya to by just observing a fly on his ceiling. Diba? It reminds us that ordinary moments can spark big ideas. Basta curious lang po tayo. Ano? So next, we also have, yes, curiosity leads to discovery. Curiosity is the key to learning, sabi nga nila. No? And we also learned that challenges can become opportunities. Kahit na may sakit si René Descartes, even in difficult times, our minds can create solution that last for centuries. Which leads us to the next lesson. Mathematics is a tool to describe the world. So ngayon, ginagamit na itong coordinate system na ito. Ito na yung naging foundation. Kaya meron tayong GPS, sa science, sa technology, ginagamit na itong coordinate system ni René Descartes. And then lastly, never underestimate small beginnings. Okay, from a tiny fly, nakagawa siya ng great idea. Okay, so small observations can lead to great innovation. So yun lamang po ang ating lesson for today. And before we end, I have here another set of activities you can answer. Pwede nyong i-pause play itong mga ito. So this is the first part, the second part, and then the third part. If you want to answer this for you to master our lesson, you can do so. Okay? But if you want to check your answer, okay, maybe you can just wait for your teachers, especially if they are using our PowerPoint presentation, to check your evaluations or your assessment. No? So for now, thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. And for the next lesson, I hope to see you once more. Okay, for now, bye muna and God bless po sa inyong pag-aaral.
Kung meron kang natutunan sa video na ito, please click the subscribe button to support this channel para mas matulungan ulit kita sa mga susunod mo pang math lessons. Lagi mong tatandaan, ang math ay para sa lahat. At ako si Teacher Van, nagsasabing dito sa Math Isip, lamang ang nag-iisip. God bless and see you on the next video. Bye-bye.